Hello everyone, my name's Poison Ducky and we're going to be here with another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. Now let's get into this matchup between Chaos and the Tomb Kings. Now my opponent here gave me a little bit of a show, like a little hint. There was a hint, like when you play poker and you smirk a little bit and you read them, right? Well, not so much of a read in this case, but they practically showed me their hand, and they chose the Court of Libris, which is the only legendary lord you can have is High Queen Khalida, which is going to be increasing your missile damage, and it makes it so that you pretty much you're telling your opponent, hey, either I'm a god and I'm baiting you so hard, or I'm going to go very, very heavy projectiles so I can have a cool color scheme. And this time I was not debated, and they definitely went for the high missile play. So how do you counteract high missile play from the Tomb Kings? Well, you have a lot of infantry, because infantry can take a beating. And you have infantry that have silver shields and high armor. And what are these? Chosen. 3 units of Chosen. There's not many matchups in which you can bring Chosen because they're just so expensive, and they very rarely pay for themselves. But here's the problem with the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings have no infantry that can do well against any, like, armored infantry. They have Tomb Guard with halberds, which deal okay. They do deal below average. They do have armor piercing. They at least can hurt them. But Tomb Guards with halberds just will not deal any formidable dent into Chosen, as Tomb Guards only have 50 armor. And 50 armor is not enough armor to stop the high power and mainstay of the Chosen. And Chosen just look cool. So, like, anytime I get to bring Chosen is a fun time for me. And I like the Chosen with shields better. They just look cooler than the Chosens with great weapons, in my opinion. So I just like them. Now, what do the Tomb Kings also bring? Monsters. How do you deal with monsters? Halberds. Chaos Warriors with halberds is probably one of the most efficient monster killing units in the game if they stay in prolonged combat. So the only problem is you have to make them stay in prolonged combat. And if the Tomb Kings have to protect their ranged units, you have to stay in combat, or the halberds will just charge at your archers. So one of the few times are, like, well, not few times, but halberds are extremely effective in this matchup, because a lot of the times they just get cycle charged to oblivion. But in this case, you can't do that without losing your back line. Going to have a unit of Chaos Warhounds with poison, a few chevrons, had a tiny bit extra money, trying to get in their back flank, keeping him out of mine. I don't want him to get shot. He's focusing my other units, which rightfully so. Bone Giants should focus down on the more important units. And all the way in the back of the map, I do have Archaon, the always chosen, of course. Can't have Archaon, the never chosen. He's Archaon, the always chosen. Not the ever chosen, not the never chosen, the always chosen. And I'm bringing the Chaos Knights. Now, they made a change. These units, while it says anti-infantry, it really isn't. It's a melee cavalry that has high armor-piercing damage now, and has no bonus versus infantry anymore. So this can be used in any real matchup, to be completely honest. The Apocalyptic Charge giving a increase to speed and charge speed, which is quite nice. And they're good against everything now, which is very nice, and I wanted to try them out ever since this new patch. Now my opponent, on the hand, is going to have a really strange army of High Queen Khalida on foot. Now, you don't see that very often. A Lich Priest of Nekahara, which is nice. Like, you should always bring some magic. 2 Bone Giants, which is a bit... I could see why you're going for this, just in case I go Dragon Ogre. If I brought Dragon Ogres, that would be devastating against my army. But I didn't, because he chose the Court of Libris. Brought the Blessed Legion of Puck and skeleton archers, so I have armor sundering here, some arrow fire spray, some really high pressure arrows from the Bone Giants, and the King Nikesha Scorpion Legion, along with some Tomb Guard, and a unit of Tomb Guard with halberds to support the back line. He's going to have a Tomb Scorpion, a very good, cheap unit, especially good for fighting infantry, which Chaos has plentiful of, and 2 units of Ushapti. A noticeable difference is that if I went a lot of, like, horsemen, not horsemen, but if I went of, like, chariots or larger units, kind of like if I just brought a lot of dragon ogres, it would be interesting because, yes, bone giants are very effective against dragon ogres, but if you send enough of them, the damage per second of bone giants is just not fast. Even with the buffs of High Queen Khalida, it just takes too long. And interestingly enough, this one's not getting the buff. Missile damage 762 on this one, and 2,047 missile damage. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of missile damage. It's because of the spell that increases their armor-piercing reload spell. But let's see how I deal with this ranged component. Now, my opponent here is going to be focusing down my halberds with the bone giants and shooting his arrows into the Chosen. But remember, these units have 120 armor. Armor sundering only reduces 30. So 30 is a lot if you only have 60. Like units like Saurus, when they lose, they get armor sunder, they go to like 30. It's terrifying for them. But silver shields plus 90 armor, it's not enough to deal any noticeable dent in Chosen. Like 10% is nice, but it's not good enough to deal any real damage. Now Chosen are going to make it to the front line. He's going to keep on firing his spirit arrows into my halberds, which I suppose is the right target, because I do keep my cavalry in the very far distance, making sure I don't send them up until at least my infantry will engage, because that would be very dangerous if the bone giants get shots on the swords of Chaos or Archaon, as Chaos really has no way of healing. Frontline engagement is going to take place. Chosen versus Tomb Guard. It's really no competition here. Chosen, let's look at the combat stats of Chosen. 46 melee attack and 60 melee defense versus 32 melee attack and 41 melee defense. And no charge bonus to speak of. Now, the Ushabti here are actually going to do quite a number on my Chosen, and of course the arrows from the bone giants actually making contact to my swords of chaos and losing 7 models straight off the bat. But this is why you bring halberds. Halberds will deal with these Ushabti. This unit right here, it says unit losing. Doesn't quite make sense to me, as they've taken out quite a large amount of HP and are slowly but surely taking out the models of the Ushabti. Chosen over here in the front line, and I'm going to get flanking with these halberds. Flank with the Chaos Warriors. It's not the fastest unit in the game, but if you can get behind them, it is a game over. Now, I do have my Chaos Warhounds getting into these juicy Blessed Legion. You can't defend from all flanks, and Chaos Warhounds are fantastic at just bobbing and weaving, threading the needle to try and get into those juicy archer units that you need out of the battlefield. Now, Archaon did pop the Slayer of Kings here, and you fighting High Queen Khalida may be a duelist, but Archaon is practically a duelist mage. With spells such as the Cascading Fire Cloak and the Slayer of Kings, it is very, very effective at killing any single entity unit. With high armor-piercing damage and high melee defense, with the mobility of his war mount, it is quite challenging to deal with him. I'm going to cast a little fireball to hit this giant in the back, and the Realm of Souls is going to proc, healing all of the Tomb King's advance. Very powerful indeed, but Chosen versus Ushabti. Chosen are so meaty, they can actually outlast the Ushabti in this case, losing decisively versus combat even on the Chosen. Although those terms aren't always accurate, and I'm finally getting these bone giants busy. A lot of their ammunition has been spent, but spent on halberds, and spending bone giant ammunition on infantry is never efficient. You need large targets, or it's never going to be caught. You'll get a few model kills, but it's just not going to deal the damage you need to win the battle. Balance of power firmly in my favor, and my halberds will be charging forward and fighting the bone giants themselves. Only one bone giant has been firing, and now Archaon's going to make contact with him, deal a huge chunk of damage. Now the bone giant here, 31 melee attack and 30... wait, how much is it? 31 and 26 melee defense. So that essentially means every time Archaon swings at you, he's going to hit with his 78 melee attack. He's going to hit, and he has so much armor-piercing damage, especially with Cascading Fire Cloak. He's going to proc the stand or die, make sure everyone is tip-top condition in terms of leadership and melee defense. And we'll see that the Swords of Chaos doing really well with themselves. fighting Tomb Guard and a Tomb Scorpion, since they are no longer just anti-infantry focused, they can deal damage to anything. And versus a Tomb Scorpion, which is anti-infantry focused and has no bonus versus large, the Swords of Chaos will quickly and efficiently destroy the Tomb Scorpion before it deals any large amount of damage to my chosen units and Chaos Warriors. Now Ushabti are going to be crumbling in the front lines. A summoned on the right side, and you can see the nice little aura here that it gives to show how much time the summon units have left. But alas, even though the poison explosion from High Queen Khalida will be proccing, and the Chaos Warriors and Chosen are blown a few, these Ushabti cannot deal enough damage to deal with the overwhelming infantry power of Chaos in this matchup. It's pretty hard, I'll admit. It's very hard to deal with Chaos Halberds as the Tomb Kings. I think you need... the Kemrian War Sphinx is probably... You need to cycle charge with the Kemrian. You need range... I think ranged firepower is actually a very valid reason, as Halberds have no shields. The only problem is that you can't shoot the shielded units. I only brought 3 of them, at least in terms of infantry, 3 units of Chosen, and he shot towards them with the arrows. Now you can see the summoned unit here actually turning orange, and that means it has very little time left on this battlefield and will dissipate. And there they go. And with that, Archaon is going to be dealing the final blows to this mighty, mighty Bone Giant and High Queen Khalida, except my hounds are actually going to be hounding on him. A few poison attacks, High Queen Khalida falls, and the Warriors of Chaos will win against the mighty, mighty Tomb Kings. Pyrrhic victory. Let's see other unit efficiency and see why you don't bring the Giants into infantry-heavy matchups, such as this one. 87 kills, 68, 45. So many kills from the Chosen and Chaos Warriors, except for one. This was the unit probably shot at by the Bone Giants. Bone Giants, one does have 69 kills. Nice. But 26, 69 for the price of the Bone Giants is just not efficient. I do like the choice of Ushabti, anticipating just in case I go for this very high infantry build. But how do you deal with Chaos Warriors with Halberds with Ushabti? They don't efficiently... They don't have the mass or the punching power to be able to cycle charge efficiently into Halberds, and this is where the Halberds really pay for themselves against them. Now, the Blessed Legion, I actually really like this choice. I almost always go with Blessed Legion against high armor factions or even low armor factions, but anytime armor sundering can be very powerful in almost any matchup. You just need to bring more archers so you can focus fire the enemy down. Now, Tomb Guard, I don't like the Tomb Guard that much. The Tomb Guard with Halberds is repetitive, right? You already have Bone Giants to deal with large units, so I would take out the Tomb Guard with Halberds, bring more spears. 1 unit of spears, and the regiment around is a nice choice to apply poison. So take out the Tomb Guard with Halberds. Make sure, maybe take out 1 unit of Ushabti or Tomb Scorpion, and bring much more chaff to hold me back. Because the second my Chaos Warriors, the Swords of Chaos, made it into the back line, it was done. And the Chaos Warhounds made it into the cookie jar. Not enough units to defend your back line. And you know it's bad if your numbers... If I'm going with 3 units of Chosen, and you still, you just barely outnumbering me, I think the best ways to beat Chaos is through terror and pure outnumbering, and you had neither, unfortunately. Well, maybe a little bit of terror in the Tomb Scorpion. But good attempt at the High Queen Khalida build, Smoke and Trees. Let's see how I would build it, just in case. You guys want to know. Custom battle. Now, I was doing a little bit of unit testing because I got a few mods, so you might see an interesting build. Now, I'm going to pick the High Court here, the Court of Liberis, just so the color scheme is cool. I always bring High Queen Khalida on a Necro Serpent because that increases her damage quite substantially not in the way of numbers, but armor piercing. Her damage becomes armor piercing, and she still applies the poison. And the biggest thing is that she's mobile. She has 66 speed. 46 is not enough. While 46 is actually a lot more than expected out of a Footlord, Footlord's just not fast enough. So do I bring the Venom Staff? No, I don't think it's that great. Not really worth the 200 almost. And if you want to go for the ranged component build, I'm all for it. Get a Bone Giant. Get even 2 Bone Giants. But this is too heavy in the read. I think 1 Bone Giant is just enough to deal the amount of damage that you need. Now, Lich Priest of Nekahara can do well. I actually don't need him to be on a steed because when you play defensively, it makes a pretty big difference. You don't need to move your mage around that much if you play that defensively. And you don't need any of these spells except really these 2. The Incantation of Cursed Blades and the Incantation of Protection, probably one of the best set of spells in terms of a 2-spell package. And it really goes well with the passive, the Restless Dead, that will heal your units. Now with the Bone Giant, you're going to need to protect it. And how will you protect it? Let's get a back line of Skeleton Spears. So 3 units of Spears, a front line of 2 Skeleton Warriors, and 2 Tomb Guard. That will do well. So it actually takes a little while to hold. A lot of chaff is always required when you're doing a ranged Tomb Kings build. Now they did... I'm really happy about what the Blessed Legion. Blessed Legion of Puck got buffed so much. They got more reload speed. They're cheaper. They have nice range. I don't think that was part of that was buffed, but such a very efficient unit in this matchup. 3 archers, and if you're really feeling cheeky, let's make sure unit caps are on. So everything I'm making here is legal. If you're really cheeky, you can even go for 5 archers. Not past that, you obviously can't take anymore, but that's a lot of backline. So you have a lot of chaff in the front. So 4 units, 2 Tomb Guard in the center will hold for quite some time with 2 skeletons on the flank. And the regiment around King Nikesh's will also hold for quite a considerable amount of time, giving your archers plenty of time to get shots in. But for this example, I'm going to only bring 3 units of archers. And now you have to deal with the Dragon Ogres or some way of dealing with like hounds or any form of pressure sort of like that. With that, I want to bring a unit that can really like hold them down, a high mass unit. And that's going to be Necropolis Knights with Halberds. They just got buffed. Necropolis Knights on the board were buffed. And they've got more melee attack, more melee defense. And I think they're pretty decent now. 1 unit of Necropolis Knights with Halberds will be able to not maybe win against Dragon Ogres, but hold them down and allow them to get shot by the Bone Giants and the Archers. Now we're missing a little small component. We should probably bring a unit of... in the Chaos matchup, they might bring Forsaken, which could be useful. Dragon Ogres. I think we have a very nice anti-large core here. And to just shore up the front lines, I'll take the Kepra Guard. That's going to be the last of our Regiment Renowns that we can bring. You can only bring 3 now, which is an interesting cap. I like the Kepra Guard as they do have regeneration and anti-infantry, so they'll actually deal damage. The only infantry unit that the Tomb Kings have that'll actually deal damage, which is it's quite unheard of nowadays. And with the 470 we have left, I think it would be fair to take another unit of Skeleton Warriors. And 145, how could we deal with that? Items or abilities. Where is that nice ability? The Scroll of Mighty Incantations. Very nice since you're going to be this is one of the few... I usually don't bring items, but this one is every 90 seconds you just get a nice boost to power reserves. You can spam out these abilities as much as possible. And this one in particular, really nice. Really nice if you put them on the Necropolis Knights for dealing with large targets. And overall, I think this build's pretty solid and will hold up against the Hordes of Chaos if you want to focus on the ranged component. So this is a very nice ranged Tomb Kings build if you want to go against Chaos. Well guys, if you like the video, leave a like and subscribe if you want more. I'll have more videos coming up later, and I'm going to be streaming the Gorok campaign once in a while. I'll always give a few days notice because I know it's hard to catch streams. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.